Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Cheese and Alien Show. I will be your host for this week, The Cheese. First of all, the Alien and I would like to say congratulations to Kevin Harvick and Ryan Newman for their wins last weekend at Martinsville. Even though that truck race was a pretty dominating performance, I'd have to say, for Kevin Harvick, he still deserves accolades for that win and for letting his teammate lead for a couple of laps for that point. Glad to see that even though some of these Cup drivers have invaded the lower series, that they can still share their successes with their teammates. And Ryan Newman, glad to see that Martinsville now apparently is like Daytona, and it's a crapshoot for who's going to win. Road steady, mid-pack, all day. Who was up there at the end? Him and Dinger. That would be our first shout-out. AJ Allmendinger's second-place finish. The Alien and I would have liked to see him finish first. We were cheering for him on the last lap, but Newman got the best of him, had the faster car. Still, good try, Dinger. It's coming soon. You'll have that win. You're definitely deserving of it. Next shout-out would be to Roush Engines, if you've seen my hat. If you're not already, go become a fan of theirs on Facebook. Follow them on Twitter. They do great giveaways, Twitter Tuesdays and Facebook Thursdays, which this would be. Last week's prize happened to have the luck on my side for once and actually win one of these contests on Facebook and Twitter. So I have my hat signed here by Matt Kenseth, David Reagan, and Greg Biffle. Thanks for that. It was a great early birthday present, which would also explain why I'm not wearing a NASCAR shirt. Gotta say thanks to the Alien for my Wisconsin Badgers shirt from second round of the NCAA tournament, that she got to go see them play instead of me. A little bit far to go all the way down to Albuquerque just to see a couple of basketball games, but she's much closer. So, gotta admit I like this birthday present. Thank you, Alien. Our next shout out will be to the Roush Fenway drivers for strong finishes at Martinsville. We all know that they've never been great at Martinsville. Not their track. It's one that they all kind of go into with the mentality of let's just finish, have a decent points day, hope we can stay on the lead lap. They're all in the top 20, and most of them ran decent all day long. It wasn't just a fluke at the end. So congratulations to them. I think we're not realizing how much of a championship threat they still are, even though we haven't won since Daytona. We'll get there. Our final shout-out, or my final shout-out, I should say. Thank you, Clint Bowyer, for that great birthday present on the green-white checker, first green-white checker finish. Taking out Gordon and Johnson for me. Couldn't have asked for a better present from one of my favorite drivers. So thank you, Clint, for making that happen. The biggest topic of discussion this week in the NASCAR world has been David Reutimann's troubles to bring out that caution very, very late in the race. Everyone's saying, oh, why did he even stay out on track? If you were in his position and you needed that 1 point to stay in the top 35, we all know we would have done the same exact thing as him. As much as some of these drivers were complaining after the race, we all know they understand they would have done the same thing in his place. Let's just get over it, move on to next race, Texas. Very excited. I am a fan of the 1.5 mile track. I know a lot of people aren't, but I think they're still small enough for close racing, yet big enough for some speed. Not the biggest short track fan in that case, because a lot of racing is the speed that's going on. When the cars are only doing up to 130 miles an hour on a short track, it's a little bit boring to me, unless the racing is really, really good. The next topic from Martinsville, Casey Kane's engine failure. It's the second engine failure in 6 races for Hendrick Engines. So we had Gordon at Daytona, and now Casey Kane. We had Jeff Gordon towards the end of last year at Kansas, I believe it was. Makes me start to wonder what they're doing over there. And maybe Chad Knaus isn't the only one that's maybe trying to push the lines a little bit too much. especially when you go over and look at Stewart-Haas racing cars. They've won 8 of the last 16 races, and they have the same exact engines in their car. So how are they completely dominating the series with only 2 cars, yet before Hendrick cannot pull off decent finishes with all 4 of their cars? It's starting to make me wonder what's going on over there. We'll have to keep you posted on what's going on here. Next thing I'm also thinking is that the Cubs are going to end up winning the World Series before Junior ever makes it to victory lane again. I don't think he wants it enough. At the same time, I'm a Cubs fan, so I'm a little biased. We always think we're going to win the World Series, so I'm still going to stick by my previous statement. Cubs will win the World Series before Junior wins the race. Also, as a big Ford racing fan in all series, and I'm also a big NHRA fan, the NASCAR Fords need to catch up to these funny cars in NHRA. All 8 cars in the 4 final rounds this year have been Ford powered. So, obviously, all 4 wins have been by Ford cars. Robert Height, 3 races in a row. Yet, since Daytona, the Fords in NASCAR have kind of falling off. Not terrible, by no means, but we're not up there dominating. We can do this, boys. Come on. Lots of wins and championships. It was almost ours last year. It'll be ours again this year. I also enjoyed, speaking of our Ford drivers, Carl Edwards' April Fool's joke on his crew chief, Bob Osborne. I don't know if everybody caught it during the race. There are replays of it. I've seen it in some of the weekend review videos on NASCAR.com, so take a look if you didn't see it. But he radios in, after he reportedly had some problems, so it's somewhat believable, radios into his crew chief saying that he'd lost his transmission. Then tells Bob right away that it's an April Fool's joke. Of course, Bob laughs it off, knowing that this is Carl, the same man who was singing Elmo songs last year over the radio during the race. Bob takes it lightly, tells him Carl's going to end up killing him and then have no help in the race car. But it's a good joke, good laugh for all of us, especially kind of one of those long green flag stretches. Lastly, saw that the Michigan tire tests earlier this week, cars were topping 215 miles an hour. I'm wondering, with the new pavement on such a large track, is this going to be a good race, or is it going to be one of those where you have 1 or 2 caution flags the entire time for debris or something ridiculous made up? Maybe with the speeds will help keep the race a little bit more exciting. There's going to be some closer racing. Let's see. Kind of excited for that race to come here in a few weeks. And finally, I will admit, the Alien has won fantasy once again. This time by a much larger margin than last week's 3 points. Once again, I'll blame Casey Kane for that, for his poor finish, but I have a feeling his engine failure was not his fault. However, made me lose quite a few points in the process. The Alien and I would like to wish you a happy Easter, and we will see you next week.